What's going on, everybody? So last time I did a video with Deion Sanders and the HBCU colleges, and like I said, it was a situation that took place. And like I always say, you want to take your time and always investigate what's going on. So during my investigation, I wanted to see if Jackson State actually couldn't pay Deion. Were they stealing the money? Were the allegations true or were they false? And I came across this bill called, I'm not going to say bill. I'm going to say, well, we could say a bill. I don't know. I'm not sure. Because it doesn't actually tell you. But I came across the Land Grant University uh, Act. And basically, this is an act that gave a lot of colleges and universities land, you know, to lay their foundation. And of course, they had to have morals. They had to follow the basic science, math. They had to teach the basic. And I think this is where we get our criteria from. I think this is why the criteria is stuck to a basic when it comes to our schools, while basically all the schools teach the same thing. We really need to look into the Morrill Acts. The first act was signed in 1862. The second one was signed in 1890. It's called the Morrill Acts. Morrill, the Morrill Acts, signed by Abraham Lincoln in 1862. Now, let me tell you exactly what the Land Grant University is. The Land Grant University or college grant is an institution of higher learning education in the United States designated by the state to receive the benefits of the Morrill Act. Now, the Morrill Act basically um, was signed, by, like I said, by Abraham in 1862. The first Morrill Act began to fund educational institutions by granting federal controlled land to the states for them to sell to raise funds to establish and endow land grant colleges. The mission of these institutions, as set forth in 1862 Act, is to focus on the teaching of practical agriculture. So basically, you had to practice the ways of the land in order to get a grant. And the ways of the land was, agriculture, science, military science, and engineering. Those are the things that your school had to require in order to get these grants. Now, this grant wasn't first signed. The grant took a minute. This act or grant, whatever you want to call it, took a minute to go into focus. Now, what made me fast forward and made me talk about it today is I wanted to know if HBCUs were able to get land grant acts. And man, it is crazy that it took almost, let me see, the original act was signed in 1862 and in 1890. They had to re-sign it again in 1890. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to do another video. I always do one with my boy Tone. So I'm only just lining up the future. Let's see. So, let me read it from here. It says the second Morrill Act, and this is going according to our historical black colleges and universities. So the second Morrill Act was passed in 1890, aimed at the former Confederate states. This act required each state to show the race was not an admission criterion. I don't know what that word means. Or else to designate a separate land grant institution for person of color. It's funny how they put that in there. You don't see that in the first act, but they put it in the second act to cover. The later clause had the effect of facilitating segregated education, although it also provided higher educational opportunities for persons of color who otherwise would not have them. Among the 70 colleges and universities which eventually evolved from the Morrill Acts of several of today's historical black colleges and universities, Though in 1890 Act granted cash instead of land, it granted colleges under the Act the same legal standing of the 1862 Act. Hence, the term land grant college properly applied to both groups. I get that. People, you need to read upon this. And then it goes on to redo itself again in 1994 because they had to add land grant colleges to Native Americans. So now I understand why some of our black colleges are not funded. And I don't want to say, but I want to say by our more advanced, because now you can see where the money goes. I get it now. I get it why you have a college like Jackson State, no disrespect to Jackson State, who will never receive the money from the government to say Notre Dame might receive from the government. The grants and things that, man, that's funny. How a piece of paper, and you know what? I don't think a lot of people know this. A lot of people who even attend black colleges don't even realize that they're sitting basically on a grant, and you're only allowed a certain amount of money. And I don't even think if we enrolled a lot of people, which a lot of people say can be the problem of a lot of historical black colleges, is that we don't have a lot of enrollments, donations. Although there are some of them that are ran much better than others, I think it has a lot to do with the state and the government and what they're willing to give you and what they're willing not to give you. It's funny how I had to just do my homework on that. That was funny. I had to really think about it because I said I couldn't see a reason why a black college would not want to play a black coach. And that's how I looked at it. Straight in my eyes, I looked at it like that. But who knows? Now, let me tell you what this last line says as I'm reading. And I'm reading it from Wikipedia, so I'm basically getting a rough draft. It says the land-grant college system has been seen as major contributor in the fast growth rate of the U.S. economy that led to its overtaking the United Kingdom as economic overpower, according to research to faculty from the State of University of New York. My thing is, this is all about land. And the fact that they even, if you look deeper into it, they even try to take the land from West Virginia State University. You know, West Virginia is a historical black university, and it's the only current land university to have lost land grant status and then sequentially regained it, which happened in 2001. So you don't know if a lot of these historical black colleges are losing their land grant status, and which means why they can't get the money to fund certain facilities like other big schools can. It all goes to the state. So it don't even matter if these people fundraise or not, no matter how much they donate. I wonder if they have to give a portion back to the state. I mean, you gotta understand, everybody in a position who's around money, somebody's taking something. So what you hear about going on in black colleges got to be going around in all universities and all colleges, black or white, regardless of the nationality of the college. Everybody's taking a little something off the top. Everybody's skimming. But it does seem funny that right now that to find out that the universities might be receiving, I'm not even going to say but I know that they're receiving less funding from the government than their counterparts. That's deep right there. That's deep. That's deep. I ain't even gonna lie. That's deep right there. Now I can understand why you have people of in the Deion Sanders swap. See, I had to look at both sides. I couldn't just do one story, one sided. Because, like I said, in that Deion situation, you have to really think about he made a move as a man for his family. He made a move, but I can understand the people of Jackson State now, because now you done took away our revenue, and I get it now. Now I understand. I might have to do some more research on my HBCUs. I got to find out why enrollments are not down. Hell, you know, when I didn't even know about HBCUs until I got to high school, because they started sending letters. I got a couple of them too. I got to look. Man, they are. I'm not gonna say they weren't a lot, but they're very successful HBCUs. And please, there's a lot of people out there who will let you know that there's a lot of my graduates of them HBCUs. They don't play that, man. They love their school. Their schools are historical schools. But something's going on. Something's going on when your money and your effort and your time that you put in and that you're trying to achieve is not really reached. Something's going on. You got to really figure out if something is being taken, or something that is not being given at the magnitude that it should be given. You really got to look into this stuff, man. You got to really look into this stuff. But I wanted to do both sides of the story. I didn't want it to make it seem like, you know, people was leaning on Deion and Deion is this, and I didn't want people to lean on Jackson State. You don't know. You got to always look at a situation. And this land grant college university thing puts a whole different light on a whole different subject. It puts a whole different light on a whole different subject of what's happening with our HBCUs right now. Our money being blocked. Because look how long it took them to give the Native Americans 1994, and the first bill was signed in what, 18 something, and you just giving it to them. The first bill took an effect in 1862 by Lincoln. Lincoln signed it in 1862. Now, mind you, this man, Mr. Morrill, he presented this act a long time. It wasn't until you had Jonathan Baldwin Turner, who really pushed for it. This thing been going on since the 1840s. You know, and it was introduced, the first Grant Land Act was introduced into Congress by Representative John Smith Morrill of Vermont in 1857. So these things have been going on for a long time. So you got to understand these things had to be revamped, revoted. What if the HBC kind of got voted out of that? Now you can understand what's really going on. So like I said, people take the time out to read. Big Ran, make sure you like and subscribe to the page. Make sure you check out Living Room TRT. Man, I love my job. On that note, y'all have a good night.